Here we are, here we are. We're back again, the Daily Rant 22009. It's me, PETEDADDY, and Billy Berg sitting here. Today's topic, TNA Wrestling. Yes. Total non-stop action. My problem with TNA right now, I'll sum it all up with this. Steven Richards, MD. Abyssus therapist. Why the fuck? Why are we doing this? Why? What is this going to do for a thriving young company? We're going to bring in, I mean, granted, Stevie's impressions in ECW were great. You know, Baron von Raschke, you know, and don't worry, Meanie, I won't hurt you. But, I mean, now it's just, it's not working.
No. This is horrible gimmick for a guy with, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but the credentials of Stevie Richards. You know, he's above this.
He was misused by WWE, I thought.
Time and time again.
And, you know, like I said, he's a former, albeit by mistake, he's a former ECW, when ECW meant something, World Heavyweight Champion. So, he's got, and his title history eludes me right now, but I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent about Stevie Richards, because that just scrapes the surface of the problems that TNA has right now. And one is the Midway company, which TNA is having make the sequel to TNA Impact, the video game, is going bankrupt. They owe TNA 160 grand, and now they're making the game pretty much for free, just to pay back that debt.
Yeah. If you play the game, you can see why they're going bankrupt.
Horrible.
Terrible game. Terrible. And I just think they're putting out this game to try and recomp some of that money, you know, after the bankruptcy goes through, release this and maybe sell some copies. I mean, to the guys that just buy any game that has a wrestling logo on it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I used to, but then I purchased WCW Mayhem one time.
I own it. I still do.
And that was horrible.
Yep. He had it for PlayStation. I have it for Nintendo 64. And
was it just as bad on 64?
For the character selection and options they give you, it's fucking horrible. It's a dreadful, dreadful game. The gameplay is ridiculous. It's almost as bad as the Raw vs. SmackDown 08 game. Now, 09 was better. We both played that one. It was better to control than 08. 08 was impossible. But there wasn't the depth there. But I see, again, we're getting off on a tangent. Now, the backstage area of TNA is said to be the mood is as somber as WCW during its dying days.
Never a good time.
No, not when this company is supposed to be on the doorstep of making that, you know, that leap to the next level, which they got their 2 hours weekly, you know, but they only have one weekly show. They're doing a monthly pay-per-view now, which normally their monthly pay-per-views beat WWE's hands down. This past one, Genesis.
Yeah, I think that's
Genesis, not so much. I was not impressed.
No, I think they kind of lacked, well, they lacked the X Division for one. I mean, sure, they had Eric Young and Alex Shelley, and then Sabin filling in for Conan or the Barbarian or Gladiator or whatever the hell he's supposed to be.
Oh, Brutus
Maximus, Biggest Dickus, whatever you want to call him, you know, going on
Laxus
different...
Apenicus.
Yeah. Anyway.
That is. But then you've got veterans, like guys, main event mafia guys. Number one, Booker T, who the younger guy, one of the guys talked to Dave Meltzer, actually came out there, didn't give his name, but said he's the worst out of everybody back there with having this me before the team attitude, and that's, then you have Booker T, you know, coupled with Kurt Angle, who I'm sure he's not exactly a peach to work with all the time.
I'm sure not.
Kevin Nash, who is notoriously, I mean, he booked in WCW, he was the booker there, and we all saw how that turned out when he was there. So, I mean, you know, I can imagine how he's trying to throw his weight around backstage now. I mean, it isn't good for business.
These guys are just going on this name that they brought to TNA, but they're forgetting that TNA, they haven't been going strong for 20, 30, 40 years like, you know, the WWE has. That company still needs to grow. It still needs to develop. And they're talking down these guys that are actually developing the company. You know, these guys that have brought it up from being a Ring of Honor style production to what it is today. You know, these guys that are carrying their matches, they're losing sight of that. They're talking down to them like they're, you know, mid-carders, just jobbers. You know, and they're the workhorses behind this, and they're just not getting the respect they deserve.
No, not at all. And on that note, you look at the program now, and with every acquisition they made of one of the more experienced veterans, older guys, it looks more like WCW in 1999 or 2000 even, with the Millionaires Club versus the New Blood, which that was Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara's fatal faux pas, I think, that really killed everything other than when David Arquette was World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Ready to Rumble, really cool movie, but
awesome.
I still watch it whenever it's on. But I don't care for that kind of shit. And you're pushing that same, and Russo's the one doing the booking right now, and Russo's not the one taking the blame for this. It's Jeff Jarrett, but Dixie Carter's sticking up for Jeff Jarrett. And there's certain areas they're booking that are good. The X Division, BG James, Brad Armstrong is behind the scenes. He's booking the X Division matches right now, which are great.
He's doing good.
You got Savio Vega, of all people, is booking the Knockouts matches, which
down left field there.
Last week, not last night, but the week before on Impact, the Knockouts match was the highest rated spot on the show, the nine knockout gauntlet match. So this is telling you something right here. Your fucking main event is not getting the draw that your mid card is. So why wouldn't that tell the bookers something, that this is what the problem is?
Yeah, I just, back when the NWO formed with all these big names, they still had some talent in them. Looking at the main event Mafia, half of them are done. Steiner, he can't work a match anymore. Nash can't work a match anymore. Sting's getting slow. Booker T just doesn't have the work ethic in him anymore. They need to switch up this angle and do it quick.
Nash just looks bad too. That he's got that staph infection in his elbow, but then that really shouldn't be hampering his overall performance when he's supposedly at 100%, because he really doesn't do that. For a big man, he doesn't do any power moves. I mean, he's got the jackknife powerbomb, which, that move in 10 years ago, it was
awesome.
Yeah, it was a fucking sweet. That was, it was banned in WCW,
Yeah.
But for a while, until I think it was Randy Savage that feud, who wanted to lift the ban. But I digress from my point. He's not doing it. Samoa Joe should be put over as a main event guy. He's a hard worker. That's why they were going to put him in that program with Kevin Nash right off the get when he came back.
Yeah.
But Nash is hurt, so he moves on. It's Steiner first.
Yeah.
So, and I can't see that match turning out well, looking good for Joe, because Steiner's a bear to work with because he's so stiff.
And this is that chance for them to put these younger guys, pass the torch. But the guys that they're using to pass it, as far as like Steiner and Nash, they can't do it. They can't work that great of a match to really pass the torch.
Well, that and they don't want to put the younger guys
that
over.
Too.
They didn't want to 10 years ago, and it's 10 years later, and what do you know? You got Scott Steiner still unwilling to put. Well, he did last week before Petey Williams got fired, which to me that made no sense. I think they got to the end of the Petey and Pump angle, and they oh shit, what do we do with Petey now? Scott's in the main event Mafia, he's up there fighting with the Dudley Boys and feuding with that, blah blah blah, and where's Petey? The guy's been with the company for how long, and he just gets the shaft out of the whole deal, which was it was bad. It was just left a bad taste in my mouth. I mean.
Yeah, I think, as far as these guys that aren't in the main event Mafia, I think as far as guys getting released or jumping ship, I think the smartest one of them all was R-Truth. He was up there when he was with TNA. But if he was on that roster now, with all these big names that they brought in the meantime,
he'd be right back down.
He'd be right back to the opening match, mid-carder, maybe even a dark match.
Yep. And that's, he was an NWA World Heavyweight Champion when he was there. I mean, he's not a fucking slouch. The guy can work. And he got put in WWE, and he's feuding with Shelton. He was feuding with Shelton Benjamin. I'm not sure if that's still going on right now. But,
I kind of think Truth needs to jump over to ECW.
Oh, ECW, yeah. Oh, he'd be great on there. With Evan Bourne coming back, they're picking up, new guys and putting them on ECW, like Christian. You got Jack Swagger, who I'm not really high on, but Vince is. And... See, this is where the companies differ. It's all in your booking, and your writing. But hey, in the interest of time, we gotta go. Next time we're talking about promos and who's good at them. I'm Pete Daddy. It's Billy Berg. Peace, bitches.